a mystical state of bliss that requires you to open your mind, body, and soul channels. Ooh, that is Soulphoria. And I'm excited that I am here today with the author of the new book, Soulphoria, Alessandra Sagredo. And I apologize if I pronounce that wrong. I'm a little Australian and we say things differently. So let me
introduce it perfectly.
Did I? Yes, I get it back. All right. So I wanted to introduce you. So I'm actually going to read this out for those of you as you're listening, just because there's so much cool stuff in it. So Alessandra grew up as an adopted quarter black bisexual female mystic in a household of strict Salvation Army ministers. That has to be interesting. I grew up and went to Salvation Army myself as a kid in young years as church.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It was a challenge, but it was, there's the good and there's the negative to it, but
absolutely. So you left an abusive marriage and going through a divorce and subsequent bankruptcy, only to face a walnut-sized inoperable tumor inside your brain. There are some things these are some of the things that help make you who you are today, and they are absolutely some big hurdles to grow through. We'll talk a bit into those today. You've been privileged to touch thousands of lives over years, recording artist of guided meditations, a public speaker, and a course and retreat leader. And along the way, you've been creating a new system of approaching spirituality in a way that has been called a paradigm shift. Now you think it's bottom line, it's time for you to bring Soulphoria to the world. And you've done that. So huge congratulations on having your book. It's out there and about to hit the streets, which is super cool. People can pre-order. We'll talk about that later. But I love that its kind of subtitle is that it's a provocative and practical approach to spirituality.
Yes.
Why and why now for this book?
So the provocative aspect is because I really try to challenge certain beliefs that people have adopted through their life, whether that's religious upbringing, whether it is just the way they're looking at the world. So the provocative is that challenging of your mind and your subconscious to remove the masks that you've been carrying and adopting. And then from there, the practical approach is really about the fact that every aspect of the book has practices involved with it so that you're actually learning tangible exercises to apply in life. And that was one of my core focuses, is that I feel that people right now are really in a stage of growth and they're looking for something. They're looking for something to give them a sense of resilience and a sense of the ability to be able to face challenges as they're coming at them. Because I think we're lacking right now with that. So.
Agree. And I'm a real practical person. It's all wonderful to learn stuff, but if you don't know how to apply those learnings to day-to-day life, it's pretty useless. So I love that you've bought, I love workbook kind of things. I love things that you can actually do the work on the way through. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Super cool. So I love some of the, and we'll get you to talk. I jump all over the place.
That's okay.
I have to go straight there first. I'm going straight to.
Just go with your instinct. Just go with it.
Give it to me. Tell me about soulgasms.
Soulgasms. Okay, so soulgasms. So
Yeah.
soulgasm was actually what the book was going to be called.
Mm.
So it was going to be called Soulgasms, and Soulgasms is the state of Soulphoria. That is what Soulphoria actually is, Soulgasm. So the idea is that you are uniting all your different energies and you are having an experience similar to an orgasm, but you're actually experiencing it through your soul. So it's like experiencing the world around you and everything in a different sense of colors and texture, and everything is heightened.
I love it. So that's one of the chapters, so to speak, or elements, parts of the book. Tell me about some of the others, and how is it a running sequence that it's one of those books that you read, cover to cover, or can you just jump straight to Soulgasm, for instance? Tell me.
So Soulgasm is actually the old name of the book. It's not actually a part of the book anymore.
Oh, it's not anymore. Okay, all right.
No, okay. So
I got all excited for a minute.
That's okay.
The whole thing's Soulgasm. I'm good with that. All good.
Yeah, it's because it was trademarked. So I had to choose a different name, which Soulphoria is actually beautiful, I think, for it. I'm
really into the name.
You can choose any part of the book and dive in, because every section of the book has a series of teachings within it. And then at the end of it, it has practices. My hope is that people will actually follow it through, because I have written the book in such a way that, when I start teaching people about this is the process that I would guide them through. So we would start with, I'll just walk you through it quickly. The first part is the flirtation of the cosmos. So this is where we're starting to tap into our intuitive side, kind of really get grounded and start listening and connecting with our ancestry and our ancestors and the different aspects of ourselves. So that's the flirtation of the cosmos. It's recognizing the fact they've been flirting with you all your life. So from the flirtation of the cosmos, we go to embodying the soul. So that is about your relationship with your physical form and your body. That includes your sexuality. That's where you hear more of the conversation around soulgasm. It talks about, I go into the fact that masturbation can be a form of meditation.
Oh, totally meditative to me.
Right? Exactly. And I talk about sexual expression and also just connecting with your body and seeing it as this precious gift, because without, so many of us focus only on the soul. We forget that without the body, our soul would not have this experience. And it's come here craving that tangible experience.
Understood.
So from embodying the soul, we move into the spiritual striptease. And the spiritual striptease this is where we actually start revealing the aspects of ourselves that we've adopted because of other people's maybe passings on that they've given to us, whether, again, I'll go back to the fact that it could be religious upbringing, or it could be, just the different things we've been taught about ourselves that we've decided to wear as a mask and we're hiding behind. So the spiritual striptease is empowering the person to discover what those things are and to start removing them. So I talk about things like karma and sin and how, maybe those are things that could be questioned, and it's okay to question them. Because I think, again, a lot of people, we get these, we often go from religion to spirituality and we adopt these new dogmas, which are almost identical to religious ones. Yes. And then, we can't understand how we can't get out of this cycle. So I'm just trying to get people to explore these different aspects. Then from the spiritual striptease, we go into the sublimely naked soul. And this is where so this is a very powerful section from my perspective, because I feel that often we are teaching people all these things, but we don't teach them how to be proud of who they've emerged as. So after the spiritual striptease, you've done all this work on yourself and you're all clear. And then you go back into the world. How do you deal with other people's reactions to your new naked self? Because you're a different person now, and that can really affect your relationships. How do you work through that? So that's where the sublimely naked soul comes in. And then from there, we have the mistress of mysticism, which is
these are the best names. Like, I love it.
This is actually, this is where I'm encouraging women to really tap into the three aspects of ourselves. And I'm inviting them to connect with their child side and their teen side, and I call it their woman side or their crone side. And the idea is that depending on the different situation, we always have these three aspects within us. And as obviously as we go through life, we start exploring them differently. But when we're dealing with different situations, especially when we're healing ourselves, there are different aspects of ourselves that might be damaged from childhood or teenhood, and we never really pare it down that way. Or if we're going into a situation with life, and let's say we need to be a little bit more rebellious and stand up a little bit more aggressively for ourselves, we might pull in our teen side versus going just as the woman or just as the child. If we need to be more creative, we might pull up the child. So I invite them to connect and really merge all of those together. And then we also talk a little bit about ritual and manifesting in that section as well.
Love it. I love it. I'm just curious. I was just thinking for a moment, like I was listening to a Deepak Chopra book this morning. And so I love audiobooks as well. So your kind of the workbook side of it, your book will be available in audio as well?
It will be, not right at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Super cool. Just wanted to check. I like audiobooks as well. Cool.
Excellent.
And when you do that, I guess like a PDF of the workbook part will come with it.
Yes. And what I'm also trying to do is I'm trying to build a section on my website that actually has, if you purchase the book, you can access online exercises. That would be me walking you through the exercises versus you trying to, because I know how hard it can be to go, okay, close your eyes. No, breathe this way. No, breathe this way. And you're reading it and you're totally disconnected. So
excellent. I love it. Again, it's practical.
Exactly. And that's was one of my core goals. So yeah.
You've nailed that. So tell me, you've had an interesting life so far. There you go.
Yes.
Some experiences that you've had to grow through, which has obviously made you very resilient. Yes. Tell me what you see as your secret to be able to be resilient and keep moving through life.
Well, for me, my resilience really came from my connection, I would say, with my metaphysical belief in the way the universe and the world works. So it really came from my connection to everything I talk about in Soulphoria, in the sense that we're not alone and we have these ancestors that are surrounding us and helping us. And if we learn to connect with them and converse with them, we can receive their support. So that simple belief has given me a lot more resilience, because it's allowed me to feel like there's different levels of dimensions that I can be working with to do things like heal and to move through different life challenges.
Nice. Very cool. And that's the thing. It's there, but a lot of people aren't aware of that we can tap into support.
And sorry, I'm going to add in one more thing. I would say the next thing to that would be the sense of self-love, just your overall sense of the fact that you've chosen to be here and you deserve to take up space. You deserve to exist here. Yeah. And that, I think, that can make you so much more resilient. And it also allows you, through your resilience, to open up to opportunities, because you're less fearful of taking on those chances.
Very cool. So you spoke before about kind of the three times. So like the child, the teen, and the woman, or the crone. Like I'm a crone nowadays. So what are some of the benefits of tapping into those timelines of ourselves? And how's that in the book, or how does that come through in the book?
So in the book, you will, the book also has sections called Mystic Moments, which are kind of my versions of my own journeying. When I do a journey or I do a channeled or a trance state, I'll sometimes write down the experiences I have. So those are in there. And I think there is one in there for the child, teen, woman side. You'll also experience different exercises as well as client stories that I've worked with different people around working with those different sides. So I'll take a step back and I'll explain to you what the benefits would be for you.
Please do.
Yeah. So the first would be, let's say you're an adult female, and let's say you're going into a business meeting and you have to be really creative for that business meeting. You've got to think outside of the box. So that's when you could pull in your child side, because your child side is going to be more exuberant, more free-spirited. Often they'll be more in that way, more free-spirited.
Yep. And more
the teen is
thinking too.
Creative, yes.
Yeah.
The teen is more rebellious. So if let's say you're going to go in and you're going to ask your boss for a raise, and you need to pull up that kind of cockier teenager side, then you're going to pull up that teenager.
Got it.
And then if you need to be more calm, confidence, and more wisdom, then you'd pull up the woman. So those are the way I've broken it down. Now, on top of that, in the book, we talk a little bit as well about healing those different aspects, or working with those different, like, traumas from your past. And so, or questioning, for example, why do I respond this way to this situation? And then you ask your different sides. You ask which one of you is still holding that energy package of that trigger response to this. And you allow that side to step forward. And then from there, what you do is you actually connect with them and you ask them, okay, show me why you're still holding on to this. So there's different layers of, as well as healing, that I've tried to go into. I've tried to fit a lot into a little book.
Yeah, but I'm a bottom line thinker. So I love that you've put so much in, but then you've given the practical part to be able to do something with it and explore. Yes. That's a really powerful question to ask, to find out which part is running us at a time.
Yes, exactly.
And all of our ages, those times are absolutely all running us at different times.
Exactly. And I feel like it just gets us one step closer to actually understanding where that is coming from and how to work through it.
Yeah. Is this book for women or men or everyone? Just curious.
I would say it could be for everyone. I've had some good reviews from some males, but I would say it's like, I've written it mostly for women. So I refer to the feminine and the female side more often than I would.
Even though guys, and guys still have feminine energy as well. They have
exactly. And I mean, it's really for everybody. So if everybody would, I would think that'd be fantastic.
Very cool. So touching base with you before we came onto this interview, we were talking about how we can kind of handle life after chaos. And even the last 2 years, which was such an unknown, and it's still such an unknown for so many people. What are some ways that you've been able to find to deal with life after and or going through times of chaos?
I would say surrounding yourself with people who love you and who believe in you. Just being able to actually be out around people and be social. Don't hide yourself away, because you have to try to maintain a little bit of the normal. Other than that, for me, a lot of my practices include things like yoga. I do a lot of body movement work, just because it's important to get yourself grounded into feeling what you're feeling in that moment. So even just starting your day off with some sort of movement can help.
Absolutely. Very cool. You touched on, even when we first started talking, you said to me, just trust your intuition. And I very much live on that trust that whatever comes through is right. And I had that kind of download when I was about 40. I went, wow, whatever happens is right happening. And I've trusted that since. But how do you help people tap into intuitive tools for everyday life, for them to start developing that stuff? Because it's easy. People like you and I have evolved through into that way.
Yes.
A lot of people haven't, who maybe will pick up this book.
Yeah, it's true. So I don't actually go into the intuitive tools too much in this book.
Okay.
I talk about intuition and starting to connect with the elements. So I find that sometimes people can connect because intuition happens as we open ourselves. It's not always by seeking for it. Sometimes it's just by opening yourself to more messages. So by going out and touching some trees, and if you live by the water, go and stick your hand in the fresh water and just experiencing nature, listening to the wind. The next time there's a windstorm, stand outside and just listen to it, because that allows you to open up and that will trigger the intuition. So I think there's a lot of different ways that people can discover it. If they want to use actual tools, there's a lot of basic tools they could use as well. There's tools like oracle cards, which are a great starting point for people just starting out.
Yeah, I'm the Connect with Nature. I usually surf for sunrise every morning, and I get the coolest, like I'm so present the moment that the sun kisses the horizon, and it's better than any meditation for me. And and it's just like you're so present, but there's amazing downloads at the same time.
And I think you've hit on something really important, is that meditation is not always sitting in a lotus position, right? No. That's the thing. And this is something else I talk about in the book. I have a section called Addressing Meditation. Yeah. And it's all about the fact that you've got to form your own practice to discover, because sometimes it could be movement. Sometimes I'll just turn on movement and I'll literally just spin around the house and trance out that way. So
yeah, I've one of my spiritual teachers said to me years ago that meditating just meant to do one thing at once, to be so present and just be in it. So yeah, when my mother knits, it's like the world disappears.
Yes.
And just in it. And for her, that's a meditation. Me, I'm really into chanting and stuff more than sitting on the top of a mountaintop in the full lotus position chanting Om. That doesn't work for me, but being present in whatever I'm doing is, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I needed to be still, but still there's a flow in, yeah, like the Buddhists are big on the walking meditations and stuff like that. Again,
yes.
You're so present in what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You're aligned. Your whole, that's the state of Soulphoria, is when you have that full alignment, and then you have that bursting of energy. That's what it is.
So
that's
cool.
Exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so aligned. I'm just wondering whether when we surf, you're so connected to nature, like in that moment with the wave, and it's like you and the wave become one, and it's better than any orgasm on the planet. It's like just this whole soulgasm, I guess, but you're so in with nature and so present with it. You have to be, otherwise you go ass up. And it's like it's crazy, like a form of meditation, I have found anyway. And you talk to other surfers and we talk about the stoke, but it's that moment that you're so with nature. It's mind-blowing.
Totally one with it.
Totally. So how did
that's incredible.
You had that conservative kind of upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the mystic come in, at what kind of age?
I was very young. I would say I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. And my parents were so conservative. There was no alcohol allowed in the house. You weren't really allowed to dance. Like you weren't allowed to go to dances, things like that. You know, it's like the footloose mentality.
Yeah, my parents had a dry wedding. They had tea at their wedding.
Yes, exactly. So, so, but as a child, I don't know if it's because of my genes, because I was adopted, and I've always been very different than my adoptive family. My adoptive family was a beautiful family, so I don't want to be that I'm saying anything negative about them, but they've just had their very strict and conservative ways. And so it was like they were trying to fit a giant sunflower in this little box. And so what I used to do is I used to spin around the house because I wasn't allowed to really dance. Like you couldn't really dance. So I just
You were allowed to spin but not dance.
Yeah.
That was your meditation back then.
And what happened is I was in one of my rooms, and I was in Saskatoon. We lived in Saskatchewan, which is part of Canada. Sorry.
Yeah, I've totally been there.
Oh, okay.
I love that. That's crazy. But I've been there in winter. Holy shit.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Place. I've been there in a January. Yeah.
So I was spinning, and suddenly it was like the whole room shifted, and there were these, this is going to sound the same, but there were these beings there, and they were like half bird, half man. Beings. And it just changed me. It in that moment, it was the first moment that I realized my parents believed there was a God in the sky. And I'm going to go off in a little bit of a thing here.
Go for it. Good.
Okay. So they believe there's a God in the sky, and they're wrong. And that's okay. That's okay that they're wrong, because you know what exists doesn't care. It doesn't give a fuck. Sorry. It doesn't care.
In their reality, that's the reality, and that's okay. Yeah,
and that's exactly it. And that was I was very young, and that kind of changed my whole outlook on life. And then from there, I went through a lot of different shifts, and I ended up meeting someone who became a very good platonic friend of mine, who actually helped me to learn to do like past life regression and meditation and all of those different components. And I had a lot of metaphysical, spiritually opening experiences with that. So
very cool. Yeah. So what's next? You know, you're a young woman, you know, coming through this journey. What's next? You're not my crone kind of age or anything like that yet. Where are you? What are you up to? I want to write and write and write. And so I'm already partway through my next book, which I think I'm going to be calling The Dawning of the Inner Queen. We'll see. Not the Inner Queen?
Yes.
Okay.
But the idea is I'm bringing different 12 attitudes forward to help people be able to connect into their reigning of their internal self, so that they can own their own domain.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also with Soulphoria. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to offer workshops and different courses online. So I'm hoping that people will pick up the book and really be interested about diving deeper into sections. So if you love the Mistress of Mysticism and you want to learn more, then I will have a course for that, or I will have a series of different workshops for that. So
love it. So your book, when it comes out in May? May. We're recording this in advance, but it's going to come out somewhere around that time, maybe a couple of weeks later.
Yes. So I believe it's coming out May 24th, and it will be available on Chapters and Indigo and Amazon and all the usual places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they can also stop by soulphoria.ca, and there'll be different links to different places that you can purchase it. So,
all right. And in my show notes, I'll make sure that I put links to your website. That's easy. What's the best way for people to follow you and keep up to date with what you're doing? Are you an Instagram chick more than Facebook?
I kind of duplicate both. So
that's cool. I'll put links to both on my website for you, or on the podcast for you. That's easy.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds great.
If you had to leave my listeners with one message about your book, what would it be?
About my book?
Yeah, about the book and how it relates to life.
I would say that I hope the book brings you all a true initiation experience into a sulphuric state of being. That's my goal, is that I hope this book will allow everyone to feel better about themselves, better about your choices, and better about your life, and learn to live in a sulphuric state on a more regular basis instead of just experiencing it occasionally.
Running around having soulgasms on a daily basis.
Yes, living in that constant soulgasm state.
Constant, a state of constant soulgasm. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been
thank you.
A pleasure meeting you, and I really look forward to checking out the book too as soon as it's available.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. See you later. Bye.